Rabbi Driscoll and Jeremy, Shalom Aleichem.
Thank you.
Thanks. It's just impossible for me to imagine where you are, what is going on right now. And I just want to give you a divrei bracha that you and everybody with you should be well, and that all of Klal Yisrael who are ensnared into this entire conflict should be well, together with everybody in the region. But first of all, Rabbi Driscoll, can you give a brief context as to what Tikva is and why you have been in the Ukraine?
So thank you very much again, and thank you for this message, which is also a chizuk for us and for the whole community and everything which we're going through. So Tikva, I came to Tikva in 1999 to rebuild, after Rabbi Baksh was already there, the chief rabbi of Odessa, to help him rebuild the community in Odessa. And then we realized what the communists had done. They'd broken down the whole understanding of Judaism and Jewish identity. And we started rebuilding, and we found that there were lots and lots of Jewish children. Because with everything else they'd broken down, they'd also broken down the family unit. And there are lots of Jewish children in need of help. There were lots of Jewish children who needed homes, who were in state orphanages, and we went there to help them. So that's how we started building. We built an education system, we built the orphanages, and then the community started building. When lots of other communities were around us were built on elderly people, we were building from education, from the ground up, and we built until 2 weeks ago. I can say we had the most vibrant and amazing community in the former Soviet Union of young people who wanted to become closer to Hashem, to understand what was going on, and the orphanages and the homes were feeding into that the whole time.
Right, that's absolutely extraordinary. Jeremy, what is your role, please?
So I used to work for a foundation that was giving money to Tikva, was funding Tikva's operations, and that's how I came to know Tikva intimately around 10 years ago. And 3 years ago, I moved over to actually working for Tikva full time. And I've been in Odessa ever since, and it's been the most wonderful, wonderful experience, really.
Right, so everything was going swimmingly along until an announcement of war, an invasion. Rabbi Driscoll, can you just take us on this journey that commenced at the beginning of the war? You, those who are in your care, their feelings, their emotions, and the need to preserve life.
So as soon as we were expecting war, we were hoping there wasn't going to be war, but we prepared for war. And Jeremy was unbelievable the way he went into great detail in order to make sure that the community should be prepared, that the children should be prepared for the war, where no one was expecting it. No, I mean, even though the food was on the buses, but no one was really. We were hoping it wasn't going to happen. And when the bombs started falling, and especially when one fell half a mile from the girls' home, we realized that this was a time we have to get up and leave. And it was very difficult. It was a week ago, just before Shabbos, and we picked up our bags. We made the decision in the morning. A day earlier, we started sending people over to Moldova to get as many people out as possible. We had 250 people in Moldova. And then all the rest of the people who couldn't get out was easy. We sent them to, we took them with us. We left the shul, we left our homes. We became refugees, and in 2022 we became refugees, and we started wandering, the wandering Jew. We became the wandering Jew as we went through the whole of Ukraine trying to evade the bombing. We saw smoke from bombs near us. We had sirens. It was an extremely dangerous and precarious journey. It was a very moving journey. It was uplifting spiritually. It was bonding, and it was extremely sad. And in the middle of Shabbos afternoon, we landed in our first place of evacuation, which was next to, just after the Carpathian Mountains.
Wow. Gosh, and Jeremy, we're speaking about hundreds of people in your care who in the best of times have emotional issues and now literally having to flee for their lives. What has that been like for all of you?
You know, as Rafal said, and I've spoken of this before, it's been a week of tremendous lows and tremendous highs. You know, leaving Odessa was emotionally wrenching. Leaving the synagogue, we turned the lights off. I believe it's the first time the lights have been off in 25 years. We took the Sifrei Torah out of the shul and we left without really having a clue. Are we going to be back ever? You know, how will we be back? And maybe it will never happen. And it was very hard leaving. You know, Rafal's been there way longer than I have, and Rabbi Baksh, they've been there over a quarter of a century. The community has been built up with blood, sweat, and tears. But it doesn't, you know, this has always been a life-saving mission. And we continued with that ethos. And when it became necessary to leave, in a heartbeat, we left. There wasn't anything to think about, really. It was just saving the community. The children are, thank God, very resilient. They're very resilient children. They've been through a lot. We have a team in Odessa of 23 psychologists who deal with them. They obviously have tremendous issues, including abandonment issues. You know, we were here in this hotel, and Rafal and I were sharing a room here, and we had to move one night to a smaller room. And when we walked out of our room with our suitcases, a 5-year-old child had just left his dormitory, and he saw us, and he almost burst out in tears. And he said, "Are you leaving us? Are you leaving us?" And we said, "No, absolutely not. We're just changing room." But really, it's a community that's a family. It's one big family. All the kids are siblings. They live under one roof. They live in the orphanages. All the young couples that we have, the young families that we have, dozens and dozens of such young families, over 100 for sure, who they grew up in the orphanages also. So they know what the children are going through, and they know what they need. They know when they need a hug. They know when they need an uplifting word. They know when they need a boost. And they really take care of each other as a family does. So as soon as we got here, almost by Sunday morning, they were dealing with all those minor details, so to speak, that we couldn't deal with. Groups were set up for the kids to do activities and drawing with whatever we had at hand, crayons and paper. The older people had set up shiurim already around the dining room, and it was amazing to see. So obviously, you know, we've needed to constantly bolster their spirits, and we've done everything we can, singing and everything, and the davening here has been amazing. But like I said, they're very resilient, and they all care for each other. They look out for each other, and they've been fantastic. Spirits have been high. Morale has been high here, thank God. And we've seen real nissim, you know, we've seen miracles along the way that also give us real strength.
That's absolutely extraordinary. And from what I'm hearing from both of you, your emunah, the emunah of the entire community that you're part of, has been something very special. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu has been blessing you all along the way. Please tell me, Rabbi Kriskel, so there you were, hundreds of people fleeing for your lives. What then happened? And where are we up to at this moment?
So what happened was, as Jeremy said, everyone started getting together, and we were starting to plan the next step. How can we get these people out? And especially the kids in the homes, because that was our biggest concern and our biggest worry. How these are our kids. I left a couple in Odessa, and 5 minutes ago because I had no choice. She had to give birth, and 5 minutes ago I just got a message that she gave birth in Odessa. And, wow. and you think to yourself, what kind of world is this child being born into? On one hand, on the other hand, what a wonderful community is this child being born into, where everyone comes together, where everyone's looking after them, where we're doing everything in order to make sure that they should be safe, even if they're in Odessa. So it's like you say, the highs and the lows. This is the highs and the lows. And we got yesterday, we had a window of opportunity, even though the children didn't have everything which they would normally need to leave the country. We found, and we're grateful for the Ukrainian government for allowing us to look after the children during the war and to leave to another country. And we left to Romania. We did it all night. We didn't tell anyone about it because it was so dangerous and so. And we were worried that somebody could jeopardize what we were trying to do. And we just arrived a few minutes ago to Romania. All the kids, it's an unbelievable chesed that this first part of the journey, the kids not being in Ukraine, that we were able to reach that. And we've always said, I think it's always been a life-saving mission. But when you're able to take 172 kids this week and students last week out of the valley of death as it is because the bombs flying everywhere, we're honored to be part of such a thing. It's a chesed that HaKadosh Baruch Hu allowed us to do it, and we understand the chesed that we received because we saw, as Jeremy said, we saw this in the whole way. We saw the hand of Hashem guiding us the whole way at every single border. We saw the border guards, both on the Ukrainian and the Romanian side, turning a blind eye when they didn't have to turn a blind eye. And I hope now the children will also recover quickly from the trauma. The second time this week, they've had to travel over 30 hours. This is Tikva, life-saving mission.
No, absolutely. And you're living up to the name of the entire organization, giving them that hope all the time with positivity and with Yirat Shamayim. Tell me, Jeremy, please, about those who are left behind in Odessa, because I'm sure, you know, you're filled with the Chazdei Hashem with regard to yourselves and those who are left behind. How many are we speaking about, and what is their current state?
Yeah, so Chief Rabbi, we're talking about, you know, part of the issue this week has been even logistics, because we've been split, and until now we were split three ways. We had the people who stayed behind in Odessa for various reasons, people who stayed behind to look after elderly parents, people who stayed behind because they were heavily pregnant, and people who just in general, they were still dubious as to what was going to happen and they wanted to stay with their homes. So we were still looking after those people. We had the group that we managed to get out to Moldova, and we had the group that was here in Western Ukraine, where I currently am. Again, you know, the group that's left in Odessa is who we're most worried about at the moment, and we've been taking out as many people as we can. Obviously, pretty much a day after we got out, they all started clamoring to get out. They realized that the situation was very real and was going to get worse very rapidly, and so that's been the case. And we've been getting people out of Odessa ever since. We've taken people to Moldova, and we've brought people here where we are. We've taken more across the border. Even today, a minibus went across the border into Moldova and will continue on to Romania. We're hoping after Shabbat to bring another minibus up here. But even beside, you know, the wider community, we have friends, relatives of members of the community. They've been phoning us from all over the country, towns and villages I've never even heard of before. They heard that we're a relative safe haven and they'd like to join us, and we're bringing in people the whole time. Even this morning, the mother of one of our older students in the university arrived here with his grandmother and a younger brother, a 6-year-old brother. We picked them up from a train station 70 kilometers away, and it's becoming something of a refugee camp. Here in Western Ukraine, we're left with basically the 200 plus people, and it's almost 230 now, 230 people who have the most difficult issues getting out of the country at the moment, without going into too much detail. But we have people, I mean, the easiest problem is the people who don't have passports or passports that have expired. But we have far worse problems than that when it comes to paperwork and people leaving the country under martial law, and it's actually a real worry. We're getting more concerned by the minute, and again, we continue to plan. We'll do whatever we can. If we find a window, we'll get out as many people as we can, as early as we can, to as safe a place as possible. But it's an achrayus, and it's weighing on us heavily, and people here are slightly nervous, those who are in the worst situation, and they're asking us what's going on, and we're working on plans the whole time.
Wow, what a story. Rabbi Kriskal, please tell me, I know you're worried about today, and I'm not even going to ask you about tomorrow. I'm going to ask you beyond that. Where to next? All these precious souls that you are responsible for, what's their future and where are you on to? And who's going to fund all of this?
So a lot of questions. The first thing is we promised the Ukrainian government that we're going to keep these children in Romania until the end of the war, in order, and then return with them to Ukraine when everything, hopefully, Be'ezrat Hashem, becomes quieter. So we're staying in Romania at the moment. We're going to continue. The community is going. Hopefully, we'll try and gather the pieces and get together here in Romania. The hotel which I've taken houses up to 1,000 people, and we're hoping that the Kehillah will come together and we'll be able to support each other through the Emunah and through the Nisan that we have seen. Shiftecha Mishantecha, we've seen both the cane and the stick of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but we understand that it's both from Hashem, and we appreciate it, and we're going to try to get together. The funding is going to be a huge issue. We never even imagined the cost, and I don't want you to go into too much detail, but everything suddenly jumped. The cost of the buses, getting people out, the right way to get people out, the cost of putting up 1,000 people in a hotel in Romania when you're living in Ukraine. There's no way we're going to be able to do this alone. And Klal Yisrael has come together to help us in the first step, to help us. We wouldn't have been able to get even the kids out of Ukraine. We wouldn't be able to be where we were if it wouldn't have been for the fact that everyone came together and said, we're here to help you. But there's so much more, and we have to turn to a much broader base and to more people, because we can't do this alone. If for the last 10 years, there have been a large group of people who've carried Tikva, building it and growing it and ensuring that we can help all the orphans. We're now talking on at the humanitarian crisis on a huge scale, and we need much broader help and and hopefully many more people to come in and join in, as Klal Yisrael knows to do at time of tzara, to join and help us. We can't do this alone.
Well, okay, thank you so much for that. Jeremy, what message would you like to give to people? What message would you like Klal Yisrael to hear with regard to yourselves and others?
I think it's a hard question. It's hard being the spokesperson in this situation. I think, like the Chief Rabbi mentioned, Tikva does mean hope. We're still hopeful today, obviously. Like I said, we've seen Hashem's hand along the way. And it's been heartwarming, as Rafael touched on, that there's been such an outpouring of support and love and messages that people all around the world are praying for us, and people wanting to help in any way possible, people offering everything, people offering food trucks, and people offering help across borders, and communities throughout Romania, throughout Europe, especially the Romanian community that's been with us all week. They've been begging to be able to help us, and in the end we were able to let them help us, and they were just delighted to be able to offer that help. But really from everywhere, from Poland, the ambassador from Poland, and everyone's been in touch, and it's been so heartwarming. And that's also been something that's given us tremendous strength and chizuk. And we're proud to have been a part of that huge effort as well. But like Rafael says, the more help, the more support we get, the better. We've been able to make very, very difficult decisions this week because we know that we've been able to leave the financial considerations aside, that we've been able to say people will worry for us. There's people all around the world who are rooting for us and who will help us, and whatever it takes, we need to save these people, and we'll worry about the money later, but we can't take finances into consideration when we're saving lives. And if we can do it, we have to do it, and later we'll worry about everything else. But the support has been tremendous. We ask that people keep supporting in all the ways that they've offered until now. We are relying, obviously, on their help and assistance. But we really, it's a message of hope. We're hopeful, and we're grateful, and it's just been really, really an amazing experience for us just to see what's been going on around the world and the offers that have come in. And we thank everyone.
I must tell you, right now, just speaking to the two of you, I am so moved. by not just what you have been doing, what you're intending to do, but your entire attitude. And I find it so inspirational. You know, the very first mention of the word Tikva in Tanakh is in Sefer Yoshua, Perek Bet, et Tikvat Chut Hashani. The Tikva was the rope which was lowered down from a window in the wall of the city of Yericho for a Chavana family to escape through. Tikva gave hope to survive from the midst of a battle and turmoil. And that is an added dimension to the hope you've already been giving to these Yatomim, to so many precious souls. You would never have imagined that it would have been necessary under these circumstances. But I must tell you, your spirit of Tikva, your spirit of hope is moving me, and I'm sure moving thousands upon thousands of people right around the world right now. Rabbi Kriskel, is there anything you'd like to add? Any message you'd like to give?
We need your tefillos, we need you to daven for us, that we should come out of this both whole, mentally, physically. We should be able to continue to grow and help more people. There's so many more Jews in Ukraine who need our help, even after this is over. That both the country we should have, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu should give the people who need to understand this peace, in which we should enjoy the peace, we should be able to go back, help the kids in our home. Daven for us that we should have the courage to go through, get through this stronger and ready to help more people.
So most certainly our tefillahs are with you. We are davening for you. Our tefillahs and our thoughts are with all the precious Yidden who are in a state of terror, of dread, whose future is not certain. We have tefillahs for everybody in the region who is suffering as a result of what I certainly believe is an unnecessary war. And in addition, I would like to ask everybody who's watching this, please, you've seen what has been said. Let's not assist just through our tefillahs and our good thoughts. Let's be charitable. Let's try and help Tikva in whatever way we can. In this way, we would be helping hundreds of needy people. Until now, the need for Tikva has been to put food on the table, to give them a chinuch and education. Now we need to help in order to keep them alive. And I have no doubt that all within Klal Yisrael will support. And in Mirz Hashem, the two of you and everyone that you are responsible for should only be well, and you should be healthy, and you should have both physical health and the mental health of the children is so very important. And I know through the professional assistance you're giving, that's exactly what you're providing for them. We're with you all the way. And I ask everybody, please do help, do assist in whatever way you can.